That day had begun under a heavy rain cloud. The streets were wet, yet I felt an excitement breaking through the monotony of routine. This day coincided with my husband's trip, and the unexpected reappearance of an old friend gave it a whole new meaning. Ethan, a friend I hadn't seen since college, had suddenly resurfaced. A message on social media followed by a brief phone call brought long-buried feelings back to the surface. "Let's have coffee and reminisce about the old days," Ethan had said. His voice still carried that familiar warmth. I hesitated for a while but eventually agreed. When he asked where we should meet, I instinctively suggested my own home. When the doorbell rang, I took a deep breath. Opening the door, I found Ethan standing there, like a reflection of the past. His eyes bore the marks of the years gone by, but within them was a spark I recognized. "You haven't changed," he said, his smile sincere. "Neither have you," I replied, though my thoughts ran much deeper. At first, our conversation was a simple stroll down memory lane. Old stories, laughter, and those occasional long silences. But as we spoke, I began to realize that our bond wasn't just a friendship from the past. Ethan's gaze lingered longer each time, and his words touched parts of me I had hidden away. By the time we finished our coffee, our conversation had already crossed into deeply personal territory. Placing his cup on the table, Ethan asked, "Did you always have this effect on me?" His voice was calm, yet layered with something deeper. A part of me wanted to escape, but the other part chose to stay. "Being with you reminds me of something I've forgotten for years," I said, the words spilling from my lips without hesitation. Ethan stepped closer to me. As the warmth of the fireplace filled the room, his touch brushed my shoulder gently. His first touch was soft, but it carried an invitation. "This is a mistake," I said, though the weakness in my voice didn't seem to deter him. "Perhaps some mistakes are meant to be made," he replied, his hands reaching for my face. As the space between us disappeared, I rediscovered a passion I had long buried in his touch. Our first kiss shattered the walls between us. My hands instinctively moved to his neck as Ethan pulled me closer. As our breaths intertwined, I felt the weight I had carried for years suddenly lift. The flickering flames of the fireplace danced across the room as Ethan guided me to the couch. Every touch of his hands awakened nerve endings I didn't know could still respond. With each motion, it felt as though he was rediscovering me, and I surrendered to him completely, my breath growing freer with every passing second. His fingertips trailed down my back, releasing all the desires I had hidden deep within. The rhythm of our breaths became a symphony, reflecting the closeness we now shared. Every movement, every whisper pulled me deeper, making the reality around us vanish entirely. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice trembling but full of longing. "Do you want me to stop?" he asked, his gaze carrying both passion and concern. "No," I said, without a hint of hesitation. "I don't want this moment to end." Time seemed to stand still. In his eyes, I saw a life, a story, a connection I had lost long ago. His touch reminded me of a feeling I thought I had forgotten, to be rediscovered. That night, as I lay in bed, I was overwhelmed by a storm of emotions. Ethan's touch still echoed on my skin, yet I couldn't decide if those echoes carried a sense of freedom or a heavy burden. The hours I spent with him reminded me of something I had yearned for, to be seen, to be felt, and to feel alive once more. But I wasn't sure if I was ready to pay the price for those moments. Some lines, once crossed, take you to a point of no return. That night, I crossed that line in my life, and now I couldn't stop wondering what awaited me on the other side.